we're tackling something that trips up, well, loads of English learners, actually understanding spoken English. You can know all the grammar, have a decent vocabulary, but then someone starts talking fast, and it's just a blur.
It really is. It's that jump, isn't it? From the theory, the words on the page, to the reality of a fast-paced conversation. It's tricky.
Exactly. So our mission today is to dig into how you can really improve your listening skills, maybe even pretty quickly.
Okay.
And we're basing this on a really interesting personal account from a YouTube video transcript. It's called How I Improved.
Right. And what's great about sources like that is they're grounded in actual experience. It's not just theory. It's someone saying, look, this is what I did, and here's how it worked. Practical stuff.
Totally practical. Okay, so let's jump in. The very first thing that jumps out, and it sounds simple, but maybe isn't easy, is just consistent daily listening. This person basically decided, right, for 30 days, I'm listening to real English conversations every single day.
And that's such a crucial shift. Moving away from only relying on textbooks or grammar drills. Those are important, sure, but they don't train your ear for, the real deal.
No, exactly. The source even mentioned that feeling, you know the words, but try watching TV without subtitles. Forget it. The speed, the way words just run together.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone learning a language hits that wall. It highlights the gap between passive knowledge, recognizing a word, and active comprehension, processing it live.
Right. And they didn't wait until they felt ready either. They just built it into their routine, making coffee, commuting, cooking, even when they weren't understanding much at first.
That's the key part, even when it's tough. Persistence. It's so easy to get discouraged early on when you're only catching bits and pieces.
Yep.
But the brain, it's designed to find patterns. Even if you're not consciously analyzing, that consistent exposure starts wiring things correctly. They mentioned rewinding, asking questions too, which is smart, active.
Yeah, actively trying to fill the gaps.
Okay,
so consistency is number one. What's next? The source talks about focusing on context.
Ah, yes, context. So important. It's not just about knowing what each word means in the dictionary. It's about understanding what it means right here, right now, in this specific situation.
They had a good example, didn't they? Something like, no worries, it's all good.
Exactly. A phrase like that, maybe the individual words don't make perfect sense initially, but you hear it a few times in relaxed situations. Maybe someone bumps into you slightly and they say that.
Okay.
And you start to piece together the feeling, the intention behind it. Context clarifies it.
And real life is full of those clues, isn't it? The place, who's talking, their tone of voice, even body language if you can see them.
It's all part of the communication package. Language isn't just words in isolation. It's embedded in a situation. You need to pay attention to the whole picture.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So listen every day, pay attention to the context.
Yeah.
But how do you make that listening really count? Principle 3 seems to be about active engagement.
Yes. This is where you go beyond just passive exposure. You can't just have it on in the background and hope it sinks in through osmosis. Well, not entirely anyway.
So what does active look like here?
The speaker in the source mentioned things like actually writing down words or phrases they didn't get.
Okay.
And then, crucially, not just looking up a definition, but finding examples of how that word or phrase is actually used in real life. Different sentences, different situations.
So digging a bit deeper than just the dictionary.
Precisely. Getting the nuance, the feel of it. They also mention trying to guess the meaning of short clips before checking. That's a great little exercise.
Ooh, I like that. Testing your intuition. And they also talked about repeating sentences out loud, trying to mimic the sounds and rhythm.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one. Connecting the listening and speaking muscles almost physically.
Does that really work? I mean, is there science behind mimicking like that?
Well, it certainly makes intuitive sense. The physical act of forming the sounds, matching the intonation, it likely reinforces the neural pathways for processing that sound. And the speaker did say they noticed improvements within the first week using these active methods. So anecdotally, at least, it seems powerful.
Okay, interesting. Right, principle 4. This was maybe less of a technique and more of a mindset. Patience and persistence.
Always crucial in language learning. It's definitely not an overnight thing.
Yeah. The source had that story with the cafe, right? Day 1, struggling to understand the waiter. And then day 15, same waiter, same kind of order. And suddenly it's easy. It just clicked.
It's a perfect example of that cumulative effect. Progress isn't always linear, You put in the consistent effort, and sometimes the results seem to appear suddenly, but it's built on all that previous work.
And the mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes they're just part of it, not failures.
Absolutely. How you frame mistakes is critical. Are they roadblocks or are they signposts showing you where you need to focus? Seeing them as learning opportunities changes everything.
Definitely a healthier way to look at it. Okay, so number 5 builds on that idea of exposure. Really immersing yourself in real-life English.
Yeah, moving beyond the classroom materials. So listening to podcasts, interviews, TV, movies, just authentic stuff.
And they specifically mention trying to use subtitles less over time.
That's a big step. Subtitles are helpful, especially at the start, but they can become a crutch.
Right.
If you're always reading, your brain isn't doing the hard work of decoding the sounds. Gradually weaning yourself off them forces your listening skills to develop.
The source mentioned finally understanding the phrase bucket list in a bookstore after lots of listening, like a little breakthrough moment.
Exactly. Those moments happen when you consistently expose yourself to authentic language without the safety net.
And it links back to speaking too, doesn't it? The waiter interaction later on flowed better because the listening was better.
It's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
Better listening leads to more confidence in speaking, which gives you more practice, which improves your listening, and so on.
Okay. Number 6 gets into the nitty-gritty. The nuances beyond just the words.
Mm-hmm. This is where you really start to refine your understanding. Thinking about things like contractions, how "what are you doing" becomes "what you doing."
Yeah, or wanna for want to. Those can really throw you off if you're only used to written English.
Definitely. And tone of voice, how much meaning is carried in how something is said. The example given was, really.
Right. Said with surprise versus said flatly. Totally different meanings.
Huge difference. And also picking up on filler words, like,
Do those matter?
well, they don't add much meaning, but they're part of the natural rhythm and flow of conversation. Recognizing them helps you tune into the pacing, makes it feel less robotic.
Okay, I see. And the source also mentioned accents, right? Listening to different ones.
Yes. Crucial for real-world understanding. The speaker listened to an Australian podcast, dealt with UK accents while traveling.
It stretches your ear, basically.
Exactly. You can't just learn one specific accent and expect to understand everyone. The more variety you expose yourself to, the better your overall comprehension becomes.
Got it. Principle 7 circles back a bit to context, specifically for vocabulary.
Yeah, learning words in context. Because words often have multiple meanings or shades of meaning.
Like the word broke.
Perfect example. Dictionary says no money. But then you hear, my phone is broke, or the company went broke. Same word, different nuances.
Real conversations just show you how words actually work in different situations. Much better than just the list of definitions.
Much deeper, more practical understanding. You get the connotations, how it fits grammatically, the whole package.
Okay, principle 8 shifts gears a little towards emotion. Understanding and expressing feelings.
Because language isn't just data transfer, right? It's connection. Paying attention to how people express feelings, joy, frustration, excitement.
The source had stories, like being lost in Rome or that wedding.
Mm-hmm. And used phrases like you could feel it in the air or the energy was amazing.
Those phrases really paint a picture, convey the feeling.
Exactly. Learning those kinds of expressions helps you not only understand emotion better, but also express your own feelings more naturally when you speak. It makes you more relatable.
Right, which leads nicely into principle 9. Using storytelling.
People connect through stories, not just facts and figures.
The cooking story, the traveling story. They weren't just reports. They were narratives with feelings, progress.
Yes, turning everyday things into little stories, including how you felt, what changed, using phrases like, I used to be, and but now I am, to show that journey.
It makes it much more engaging.
Way more engaging. It shows personality and development.
Okay, and the final principle, number 10, circles back to something we mentioned but is worth hitting again.
Yeah.
Embracing mistakes.
Can't emphasize it enough that I go to the store yesterday. Example. Classic learner error.
Happens to everyone.
Totally natural. The key is not to shut down and also being honest when you don't understand.
Right, like the speaker saying, can you say it again?
Exactly. It's not failure, it's facilitating communication. It helps you learn and helps the other person clarify. It's actually a really positive interaction.
So pulling it all together then, the big message from this source seems to be listen consistently, listen actively, listen to real stuff, be patient, and don't fear mistakes.
That's pretty much the core of it. The 30-day challenge they described is like a launch pad. It builds the habit.
Yeah, it's about getting that momentum going for long-term improvement in both listening and speaking.
It really is. Developing that habit of active, curious listening. It's an ongoing exploration.
So, a final thought for everyone listening. Maybe just pay a little more attention to the English you hear over the next few days. Actively focus. What nuances do you notice that maybe passed you by before? And think about it. What's one small change you could make to your routine to fit in just a bit more real-life English listening?
Good question to ponder.
Give that some thought. Thanks for tuning in to the Deep Dive, and we'll catch you next time.